So, good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Johnston, Saga Lake Schools. Um, I'm kind of the overall district level tech integrationist, but I've also um, been given the interesting task of keeping our website up to date over the years that I've been doing this, which is now 14 years in this position. So, over the years that I've been doing this, we've gone from a kind of a Dreamweaver type website that somebody in the community created for us and then said, here you go. And you're responsible for everything else with it, to buying a product from School Center, which got bought out by School Wires, which got bought out by Blackboard. So that's where we are right now, is with Blackboard, and their support has been really great. And then we just added a new component to this called Ally, which sits native in your editing window and lets you know what things are active and which things are not compatible or compliant with the ADA rules, so that you can fix things as you're adding them to your website, instead of what we've been doing for quite a while is going back and fixing things that are already on the website. So what I'm going to do today is just kind of go through the different processes that we've done to get our site as close as we can. It's always an ongoing effort to stay on top of things. Just a quick history. The American Disability Act, the ADA Act, 1990, and that was basically saying that everybody, regardless of their ability, should have access. And this was more physical. So you'd see ramps into buildings. You'd see those low curbs at intersections with the rumble buttons, I call them, on there, so that people with sight or with wheelchairs would know when they're at the edge of the curb to go into the street. The crash bars on doors, the handles on doors turning from knobs into those levers, so that people with physical disabilities have access and can egress and all that. And then in 2010, they expanded that to accessibility to online efforts. So that's kind of where we sit with the design, is to make sure that all the stuff that we put on our websites is accessible to anybody, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. So why do we want to be compliant? It increases our target audience because 26% of our population has one or more disabilities. The search engine optimization, as screen readers crawl through your website, they're also accessing the optimization so that search engines have more access to your information. Better usability, not only for impaired or for disabilities, but for anybody. If something is good for somebody that has low vision ability, it's going to be good for anybody. And then it's the law, so you do not want an OCR complaint or somebody filing one of those on you, because then you've got a whole bunch of hoops and steps to go through. It's better to have it done ahead of time, or you are in the process of improving your website so that they can see that that's an ongoing effort for you. So type of disabilities that we're looking at are visual, which is blindness, obviously, low vision, color blindness, which is one that didn't really hit me right away until I had seen some examples of what color blindness can do for people, or for websites that can give them a false message. Auditory, so deafness, hard of hearing, which she would have captioning or a transcript that they can download. So the next one, motor, inability to use a mouse, so being able to tab through your pages and access the same information by using a tab instead of a mouse or arrow keys on your keyboard. And then cognitive, learning disabilities, distractibilities. Example would be a flashing GIF, can really set off some people that are easily distracted or can have seizures with that. So you want to actually be very careful on what you use for that. So what makes a website compatible? We've got keeping the navigation consistent from page to page. So if you've got a left navigation or you've got a title bar that has pull downs, that's consistent from page to page to page. It's not, okay, where are the links this time from the pages? Or a return to page link that would get you back one. Another one would be that links that stay within your website versus links that go out of your website. It's always good to have those set up as a opens in a new tab so that you've always got your main website tab still up there. Design for different devices, different views. This is one that I always have to remind myself because I'm looking at our website as I'm working on it on a desktop, and I've got 2 monitors. But then I have to think, okay, well, most of our traffic now is on devices, on cell phones, where that wasn't true before the pandemic. Desktops were our main source of people accessing our websites, and now it's the devices, it's the cell phones. And that change has to be stuck in my brain because I forget to transfer from one to the other to see what that looks like. Don't rely on color for emphasis. So I'll show an example later that says, all the colors in red are good, all the colors in green are not good. Somebody with color blindness would have no idea what you're talking about. It would look all the same to them. Color contrast ratio, so your background versus your foreground, your lettering, your text has to be a certain percentage. And if it's not that, then it's hard for low vision people to read. No mouse, no problem. So navigating through a website, if you can use the tab key and the arrow keys, that's the best way for them to be able to do that. And sometimes if you try that with your website, sometimes you'll see, what things work or what can you get to that somebody would need to get to if they can't use the mouse. How would you get through that? Alt text for all images. So a lot of people are using screen readers that have low vision or no vision, and it's reading them what's on the page. So if you have an image on the page and it does not have a description, the screen reader skips it or says it's decorative. But if you put in a text in there that says students playing on the playground, they would at least have an idea of what is on the image. Hyperlinks with the descriptive text, so not just click here for more information, but I'll show you some examples of what you can do that actually the link describes where they're going or what context the content they're going to get if they click on that. Proper heading tags, H1, H2, H3, as you're going through that, and that they are in the proper order. So an H3 does not come before an H2. You don't use bold in place of an H1 or an H2 because the screen readers will go in order as they're reading this, that it says, what's most important on this page? What's the heading for this? Is that an H1, H2? I was very guilty of this next one when we first went to our own website on School Center, and that was using tables to format a page. Nice, neat columns and all that. And Screen readers have a real hard time with that when it's formatted. They think it's a table with information. There should be a header across the rows and columns so that it makes sense for the screen reader to go in the order that you actually want the information put out there. Our biggest problem right now is getting all our legacy PDFs that are on the website accessible. And now I've got most of our staff that are putting information on the website to make it in Word or make it in Google Docs. And if they need to save it as a PDF, they save it right from there. They don't print it out, go to the copier, scan it, make it a PDF that way, because that's just an image and screen readers can't read that information. Audio and video files captioned. For some reason, our Ally program here does not like the automatic captioning that YouTube does. So starting with that and going in and making a transcript, correcting all the errors in spelling or whatever, and then uploading it seems to be a better deal. But I wish the automatic one would be acceptable, because it's so much easier just to let them do it and then go back and make a few tweaks here and there, so that the kiln in the art department isn't the art teacher is killing something. You have to make that change once. Website accessibility disclaimer page, letting your audience, your community know that you are aware of these issues and you are working to make everything on your website more compatible. And then an easy way for them to be able to contact you. So if there are issues, if they do need an alternative text or something for a document that's on your website, you can have that for them. So how do you know what's right and what's wrong with your website? There are some free accessibility checkers out there. Wave is a good one. Some of these also have in Chrome an app that you can use right within Chrome to find out what's accessible and what's not. Some of them are companies that will let you run it, but then they'll say, hey, as long as you're there, we can do a weekly or a monthly check on your websites for you. And so you can check out each of those if you want. They're fairly simple to use. You just put in your URL for the page or the site that you want to check, and it'll come up with, the things that it says are accessible or not according to the website content accessibility guidelines, or WCAG. And then color contrast checkers. You put in what your background color is, you put in what your text color is, and it will show you the ratio. 4.5 to 1 is best if it's a normal font size. So you want to go for 4.5 or higher for that. But there are 3 different checkers that you can use there. And then WebAIMS has a checklist, and it's quite lengthy. It goes into quite a bit of detail, but it basically does it under those 4 headings: perceivability, so the user can consume the content with any of their senses; operability, the users can operate the website with the controls that they normally use. So if that's a mouse, if that's a tab, if that's a breathing tube, for those that might not have any mobility. If the understandability of the website and the user interfaces, so they can understand that your navigation is on the left side, you've got pull downs across the top, those type of things. And robust, it works for any device, any platform. So that list is quite extensive, but I threw it in there just to see how many things are available for you to look at and use. And then here are a few more web checklists so that you can go through. Some of them are just a basic checklist, and it's really nice to, okay, I've got that done, I've got that. Oh, I need to work on this one. Others go into more detail as to why they're having you do this. So those are pretty nice to check out. And then I threw in a couple of examples here of the different things that you're looking for. So this would be one for the color contrast. So somebody with low vision, somebody with color blindness might have trouble with the ones on the left, but the ones on the right are designated as good. So the 4.5 to 1 for normal text, which I think is a 12 point, where with larger text, it can be 3 to 1. But then looking at the foreground color versus the background color, some are a little hard to read. Others in the right column are better because their ratio is higher. So you want to kind of be conscious of that too. Then the alt text for images, you want to make sure that each image that you have on there, if it's not a decorative, but it has a descriptive text of what's in the image so that those that are using screen readers know what's on the page. Otherwise, it would just say image and then go on and they'd have no clue. Also, some of the infographics. It's always nice to have a alternative manuscript or text that says, you know, in a normal text document, what's on that infographic, because screen readers will not necessarily be able to do all the context that's in there. But if you do a written Word document or a Google Doc on the content of that as a link beside that infographic, then people can still access the information. Descriptive text and hyperlinks. Again, you're trying to let them know where the link is going to, what the content is going to be without just saying click here. So I did this experiment with a screen reader, and if you look at the third bullet point down, it read out link, constructing accessible websites. And then if you look at the fourth button down, it read link, https://www.world, and it read out the whole link. So I suppose click here would have been better than that, but the point is you're trying to let people know, if they're using screen readers, that that's the link that where it's going versus that whole thing being read out. And it looks a lot nicer too for those that aren't using a screen reader. I'd rather click on the constructing accessible websites versus the long link that's down below. And then there's two examples. Click here for information for our upcoming events, and then the click here button versus our calendar has the information on upcoming events. So it's more descriptive of where that link is going. And it's just good practice to do that too. And then color as emphasis. If you look down below, it says the green mushrooms listed here are okay to eat. The red mushrooms will kill you. If you have color blindness, that could be a problem. Or maybe not. But the one I kind of liked was the UK put together a inaccessible website just to kind of go through and say, okay, here's some of the problems, here's what they look like, kind of thing. So it's kind of fun to play around with that. Some of them I had to do the right click and then inspect to actually get to where the code was. It was explaining that the H3 was ahead of the H2 in the text and so on. But it was pretty interesting to just kind of play around with that and see what are some of the challenges that some people are facing when they try and access our website. And then screen readers do not distinguish between text that's in bold or text that's in italicized. So if you're using that as emphasis, it's not going to make some sense to somebody using a screen reader. So the example, the bold items are required. Somebody using a screen reader would not know which ones were bold. So if you're using that as your only means of emphasis, then that could be an issue. The first three things are required, and then that would make more sense. The other 3 are optional, that would make more sense. And for sighted people, I mean, with no issues with sighted, it's not a problem. But if you think about your whole audience and that a fourth of the people using your website may have one or more disability or challenge, then that could be a problem. And then PDFs, that's my nemesis. That's my thing that I keep working on. All our district board policies, all the papers and things that the high school and middle school uploaded. I'm getting close, but what I've done is if I can get the original and then set it up, because Word has an accessibility checker now that you can run through and get it right beforehand, and then save it as a PDF. I still run it through the Adobe checker just to make sure. And what it's looking for is, does it have a title? Does it have a language set? Is the structure correct? And most of them are not, that I've been correcting. So I have to go in and set that up. Is it tagged correctly? So that, is it an artifact? Is it an image? Is it a table? You know, all of those things. Is it a paragraph? And then fix those tags. Alt text on any images, descriptive links, logical reading order, and no images of text. So you can't have a picture of content, or a screen reader would not accessible. That would not be accessible to a screen reader. And Adobe Pro has been very good about the accessibility checking. And if you don't have that, it would be a good idea, or what's it called now? Adobe DC is the newer version of Adobe Pro. Just to run any of your PDFs through that to check to see what the accessibility is. And then the ADA compliant accessibility policy that you have. We don't have one for a board policy, but we've put together some information. And if you click on the Chisago Lakes draft, I came up with an initial draft. Superintendent ran it through our lawyers. They tweaked a few things, and that's what's on our site right now, saying that, you know, we are aware of the issue. We are constantly working on making it accessible. If you have questions, please contact our webmaster account, and I check that at least once a week to see if there's any information that people are requesting that they can't get access to, and then we come up with a way to make it a format that they can access that information. And questions. That's a lot of material. It's can be mind-numbing at times, but I'm here if you've got questions, or email me or whatever. I've gone through a lot of webinars on this, and hopefully I'm getting better at it.
How many people would you say have the Adobe Pro version? You know, it's probably not every teacher in the classroom might be putting something up on the, you know, on a class or a teacher website, you know, or page, I mean, but.
Right. And we used to have teacher websites. We don't anymore. A few elementary use Weebly or whatever. High school, middle school have Schoology, so that's kind of their teacher website, or Google Classroom. So it's basically the building secretaries, principals, the DO staff, our athletic department, the AD and secretary, and the pool manager, you know, has swimming lessons that I'm dealing with right now with some of the cutesy things she puts on her things for lessons, and when you can rent the pool and the parties and all that. And
thanks for all the information and the links and the resources to look at. That was super helpful.
Yeah, and if you've got questions after you've checked out some of those, let me know. I'm available till June 30th. Then I am done.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thanks a lot, Mark.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Yep.
Good day. Thanks, Mark.